Okay.
Welcome to the Slim Nation 101's podcast.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Slim Nations 101's podcast. I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with a special guest tonight. Her name is Jacquè Kendall. Been knowing her for a long time. And if you want to know a little bit about her, she was one of the ones that orchestrated the effort to reclaim her high school name after it had been changed from Woodrow Wilson to, from Manor High to Woodrow Wilson. And I think that went on for about 20 years before you all made your appeal before the city council and the neighborhoods and everything and all the alums that were original. You were one of the original people from Manor, right?
Yes, I am.
So it was like a long fight, a long battle, and you were one of the people that orchestrated that reclaiming, and also helped put a permanent monument for the people out the original class that are no longer here, so let them try to change that name again and see what happens.
Hey, with the way things are going, serious, that could happen. It could
Yeah,
happen.
well, you never know. So just stay vigilant. So, and also you've been instrumental, even though you grew up in Capitol Manor, in being involved in the celebrations for the historic Truxton neighborhood. So we appreciate that as well. So,
we have to preserve history. They're trying to wipe out history. We have to, every way we can.
How about that? Especially making the recognitions during this time of the month, this month. Although we recognize Black history all year round, but this month is something that's been designated as Black History Month. So I think it's appropriate what's coming up. So give us a little highlight of what's coming up. Well, and we're talking about the JFK Center in Douglas Park, which served quite a few neighborhoods in that area for years. A lot of people grew up in that recreation center, and so some changes are about to happen there for some two well-deserved ladies. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I was approached that they wanted to rename the JFK Center after my mom, Florence Kendall. Now, anybody that knows my mom knows that she loved Ruth Hendricks, and Ruth Hendricks was the catalyst for everyone in our area to bring recreation into the underserved communities. So when they approached me, I kept saying, my mama won't Miss Hendricks. It's got to be Miss Hendricks. My mom celebrated Miss Hendricks. So that's what they've done. And they went to the Recreation Commission and talked about it, because some of the things that you all might know, or some people in the community might know, that my mom, Miss Hendricks, Rudolph Freeman, John Cashwell, Jeff Norman, Kerry Warren, all of these people were very instrumental in that PIT that you see. Mm-hmm. So that's history in itself that no one ever talks about, but it started in 1955 at the old Armory, which is now neighborhood facility. So
yeah, a lot of people don't know that. They just think it started at Churchland, where it's there. They think that's where it all started, but no.
And what's
at
crazy,
the Armory, right?
I've gone through some of my
mom's Black folks.
Yeah, us, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've gone through some of my mom's artifacts, and I have that information. She was always trying to work on it. She's got petitions. She's got the original programs and stuff that was on paper and stuff. And I went through her artifacts, and I found that she was really trying to do something like this for Miss Hendricks. So it's fitting that they rededicated. They're going to have the sign unveiling on February the 15th, which is this coming Saturday. And in honor of these two women, and the way I hear it, they're the only two women that have a building named after them, and especially African-American women that have a building named after them. So
yeah, and you mentioned Ruth Hendricks. And
Yes, Miss.
I have to mention that, well, she went to Virginia State College, as it was called then, Virginia State University, now HBCU. It wasn't HBCU then, it was just a black college.
Mhm.
But she went there and she taught for a while. And then she came to the city of Portsmouth and opened the first recreation center.
Yes,
I
she
think
did.
don't too many people know that. She opened the first recreation center for black people in
Colored.
the city of Portsmouth, for colored people back then,
Yeah.
as we would call, in the city of Portsmouth. And I didn't know that until I did some research today, and I can see why your mother had high regards for her and
Mhm.
considered her mentor. I think she gave her first job there at in the recreation department. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're correct. My mom was on her traveling basketball team. My mom came from Concord, North Carolina. She, as she said it, she was a hot shot player. So she was on one of Miss Hendricks' traveling teams. They had
Okay,
to
now,
travel out basketball.
yeah, Miss
And
Hendricks, I saw what she taught in Barkins. No, that's Barkins, Virginia. I'll go ahead and say
working
the
for Virginia.
teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she had a traveling basketball team because
Oh, okay.
they couldn't find people to play us. So they had to go out and find other colored teams to play. And so as she saw my mom on there, then mom and her got started on the playground. And then eventually from the playground, my mom progressed to Douglas Park Center. They took her there to train people, and she ended up coming to Cavalier Manor. But what people don't understand, my mom was like one of the first African American center directors at Port Norfolk, and at the time, Port Norfolk was all Caucasian or white.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
they've come up through the ranks. One thing about Miss Hendricks, even before Miss Hendricks opened up the first center, if she saw 2 or 3 people gathered, she'd stop her car, open it up, pull out some popsicle sticks, some glitter, and some paper, and did arts and craft, or she'd find a ball and a bat. That's kind of why my car probably looks the way it is. I like inherited her and my mom, but that's what they
You
did.
kind of inherited that, huh?
I know it's right. Mirror, mirror on the wall, I am my mother after all.
Wow, no telling what those kids might have gotten into, if it wasn't for that random act of kindness and giving them something to do, actually,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. I
I,
mean,
I mean, it was just in her spirit, I think.
yeah, it was in her spirit, and once a teacher, always a teacher.
Right, right.
Once a teacher, always a teacher. And one of the things that we don't talk about, we look at city, with the racial tension in our city and where it comes from, and we thought about the statue, but understand too that recreation was segregated during that time. When I used to go as a little girl, we would go up to the municipal building, which is that one that's down there that has Time by the River. You go upstairs, and there was the municipal building. And Mom and Miss Hendricks and Rudolph Freeman, Mr. Freeman, he was up there going one side. That was where black recreation, and on the other side was white recreation. However, they brought so much to us, we didn't know what we were missing. They used to have a finale, and they would take the other recreation centers or playgrounds would go to Ocean View, and Mom and them would either bring the carnival to us, or we went to Stompy Lake or Bayshore State Park or whatever,
Mhm.
but we never ever went there. But when we thought about the carnival thing, Mom and them would bring rides and the whole carnival experience to the center. We had no idea, that we were missing out on anything, but it was separate, but it wasn't equal. But
But
that's what they
they made it pretty close to equal.
yeah, they
Now,
did,
a
with
lot
a
of
little
people
twist.
today, yeah, a lot of people today might not realize how important the rec centers were throughout the city, especially in the colored or black neighborhoods, because school only lasts for so long, and it probably prevented a lot of kids from being latch key kids, because a lot of the parents were working, and school let out about to what, 3:15, and so what's a kid to do from 3:15 until 5 or 6 when their parents got off? And those rec centers was that haven for them to come to and keep their minds occupied, and it wasn't all play. I'm sure a lot of times they said, let's read a book or something like
Oh
that.
yeah,
So
they
you had
had a
those.
book. They had a book
Mm-hmm,
nook. They had arts and craft. If you hadn't done your homework, you would sit down and do your homework or whatever. They had all the other games, the pool. That's why I said I think the only thing that was electronic in the centers at the time was probably the operation game because it had a battery in it. Other than that, we learned how to play checkers. We learned how to play dominoes. We learned how to chess and hopscotch and all kinds of things that were mind games. They had this one game called Shoot the Moon where you had the gravity, you had to bring the ball up and try to get it in the moon, the Mars. I mean, you're learning all the time, but these are the things that was at the center. Now, I lived in Cavalier Manor, but we had what was called freedom of choice. And so
mm-hmm.
I would get on the bus and I would ride a city bus to Nova Street was the bus stop. I'd get off, cross the street, and go to Douglas Park School. And then after school was over, then I would walk over to the center. I did that for preschool and I did that for first grade.
Well, so you were around all that, and you got a chance to meet people from all over. And you know, I can remember going to the center when it was before it was JFK. I think it was named JFK not too long after he was assassinated, and they
No, it
changed
was
the name.
1964.
Okay, so
And
it was something else before that, right? And
it was something
I
else. It was Douglas Park Center, it was
probably
something.
Douglas Park Center or something like that. Because I remember going to that ceremony as a little kid, and so I think it's so appropriate to name it after these two women. And you did say you were approached about the name change. So
Yes.
did that come from Parks and Recreation or somebody
No, that
that
came
has
from
been
a private.
around? A
That
private
came from a
citizen.
private citizen. That started with George Eason. George
Okay,
Easton is
okay.
in your area. And George said, I said, George, this is my mama. I don't want, I'll help you, but I don't want to. But then I started talking to people and I said, why shouldn't I be proud to do something like that? Just think
Hmm.
about people that stood in it. And so once we started the ball rolling, I mean, George started and then the Trucks and Civic League got behind it. And
Hmm.
they were coming to the meetings and stuff. And I just didn't realize everybody that I talked to had a story about mom. They had a story about Miss Hendricks giving them their first job when they were 14, so it just kind of built on itself. And then my mom's talking from the sky above because I pull stuff out. And when we have the ceremony on Saturday, I'm going to read my mother's words that's written
Okay.
in red. That's it. I'm going to read mama's words. The program, she planned this. All I'm doing is plugging people in where the spots are. The acknowledgments. My mom wrote that. So it's eerie, but it's so cool. But I wish she was here. No, she's gonna be here. But I'm just saying this is the kind of thing. Mom always recognized everybody. I mean, I saw a box where she recognized this person for that person. That tree that's outside of Douglas Park. My mom planted it. There was a storm, it took it down. Mama planted another tree. There's even a little placard there in honor of Miss Hendricks, because to be honest, people may remember my mom's name. They may remember Jeff Norman. They may remember all these other people. But Miss Hendricks was like the one that started all. She's a big deal. She's a big deal.
Yes, yes, indeed. Now, you gathered a lot of signatures. Was that something voluntarily, or was that a criteria that you had to do in order to get it passed through the city council?
Not really. To be honest, I ain't telling everybody, but petitions are symbolic. It's symbolic. It's all that other stuff that you have to bring in that, people talking and them researching it. However, it's really a good idea to show them how many people were behind, this whole
Hmm.
situation. And the Maplewood Park, Arcadia Park, and I think Maplewood Park and I think it was Arcadia, they had their reunion. And a lot of things gathered up during that time, of
Hmm.
them wanting to. I mean, I heard all the Miss Kendall stories. And a lot of times, I mean, I was a part of those because, as a little girl, she drugged me around and I was her number one volunteer, even though I cried all the time. I don't want to be a volunteer. But I'm glad she exposed us to a lot of things. I travel a lot. That's my thing, travel. And she took us around the world in that center. Before I went to Japan, I learned about Japan in the center. Before I went to Africa, I learned about that. Before I went to all of these different countries, I learned about all of that because Mom and them did it. We always had a spring festival, a fall festival. We wrapped the maypole. We dressed up in nice dresses. We don't dress down, you dress up, and those are the things that she taught us. And I cried and I didn't want to do it, during that time. So I would drag my girlfriends from everywhere and make them do it too. And they thought it was fun, but I was like, misery loves company. But anyway, I'm just so glad she did, because our ability to speak, she always made us recite things. She made us, if Christmas came, we said, "See us for Christmas, Christ." And if we didn't remember it, she had it typed in the back so you could read it off of it. But these are the things. Kids now, as a teacher, getting them to socialize with adults or even amongst their peers is very hard. When I see a kid that'll shake your hand and start in conversation, I'm excited, because for the most part, kids don't do it no more. But the exposure.
And I'm so glad you brought up that point about you visited all these different places, countries and continents right there in the center. Just like I talk about reading, you can read a book and go anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And that sort of improves the kids. And you just mentioned that their social skills, because wherever they go, they can talk about, they can know a little bit about everything. Yeah. And that's all it takes sometimes to engage in a conversation with somebody that you haven't met before. Just knowing just a little bit about something and being able to express yourself.
So I've never. I'm sorry. I've just never been in a situation where I couldn't just talk to somebody. I've always been able to converse with the best or whatever, and it doesn't bother me. Presidents or whatever, what I'm saying to you all. And that's what we want the kids to be able to do.
And it was like a continuation of the education from the school to the rec centers, and just the rec centers gate. I thought it was lightning behind you there. What was that? That was your phone?
No, somebody's calling the phone.
Okay, I said it looked like it's lightning inside her house. What's going on? But anyway, it was just so important to extend that education at the rec centers, where they had a little bit more freedom than they might have had in the classroom. So it all worked together. So, those dances were nice too.
Yeah. I wasn't privy. I could go there and watch the dances, and then I was the spy that would go in there and say, "Slim is hanging all on that girl, mama." I was the
dancing too close.
Yeah, dancing too close, mama. I go in and she'll send me in as a secret agent. But I let me just say, when you talk about those dances, let me tell you what came out of those dances. Mm-hmm. Soul Ranger, Chester Bennington,
wow, yeah,
Bobby J, all of these
DJs,
Sage, the controller, Master Blaster, Heart Attack. All of these people played Mama Center. Dr. Feelgood, all of them. H.J. Ellison, used to be on the radio.
Yeah. He said he was from Douglas Park. He was from Douglas Park.
He was at that ceremony. He remembered that at 5 years old, being at that ceremony. So it's amazing. And we talk about, I told you about that it was segregated. Well, what way to bring people together? Through sport or an activity. And for a while, we would have our basketball tournament separate. We have our a softball tournament. We had our horseshoe tournament. But this is a picture of when Mama and them decided they was going to put something together. This is a city. You can't really see it. This is a citywide horseshoe tournament. And look at the diversity on there.
Oh, okay. So
these two guys are from Cherokee Park. My girlfriend, I went to school. She knows one of them, I think, passed away. This was the junior division, senior division. No, excuse me. Midget division, senior division, and this was the junior division. But they brought people together. And from then on, guess what? They started competing. It was like what was going to happen.
Yeah, it sort of
Yeah.
opened up, it sort of
It
broke
opened up,
the
yeah.
barrier.
Even with me doing the hula hoop, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Tell me that. How did you get started with that? I mean, we all did that as young kids, and some people were good. Yeah, I wasn't good. Mine kept falling to the ground, but man, I didn't have the hip motion then.
well,
But what?
every,
How did you get started?
everybody
Because you
in my
still do it
family,
today.
yeah, I still can do it today. I'm real good, better. I think I'm a better entertainer with it today than I was then. Everybody in my family did something. My sister was in the beauty pageants. I was the tomboy. My brother played. My brother played baseball and all that, and I was the tomboy. He taught me this, that, or the other, and I looked at her do the beauty stuff. But I wanted to find my own niche. And Whammo, which is the toy company, was coming around with the frisbee and that. I start picking it up, and so when my mama would banish me in my room, that's what I did. I put it on my foot and just do that for a while. And after a while, I looked at the the directions on how to do these tricks, and I would perfect them. And so then my mom would make me go around and teach my competition. So she said I had to go around, and I didn't understand. I said, LeBron and Kobe, none of them had to do this, but my mom made me go around, which I got lots more people and friends. And then we had one time down one of the parades. I don't know if it was the fishbowl, but we had Jackie's Hoopers. We had kids all from Lincoln Park, Douglas Park, down South Side, and we put them in leotards, and they went down the street, and they hula hoop. It was cool. I was the leader then. I would teach them, but I'm still teaching. I teach, the Universal Circus. I've taught their people, or whoever. I teach it at
Yeah,
school every day.
you mentioned your brother, and heavily shout out to him, and among other things, a lot of us will remember him as a CIAA referee
Him and my
for
daddy. Him,
for years.
my
Yeah, and
dad
your
was
dad was too. Okay, I didn't
my
realize that.
dad was
Yeah.
before him. And so
Oh, okay.
one time they got a game together, and they were out who outdo who, charge, all that crazy stuff. And my dad I was a cheerleader, so my dad would never ever let me know when he had a game. So one day I kept asking him, and he never answered me where. And he was out there. Well, they ate him up. The referee, he can't see. And I was like,
Yeah.
look, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. Norcom, y'all gave us heartaches. My dad, oh
Oh,
God, y'all
yeah.
took my dad up. That was awful.
Yeah. The referees were,
Yeah, but
the bad guys.
both of them were referees, and putting them in the game together was just like crazy, So they wanted me to be it, but my attention span is really bad. The play would be down here, and I'd be looking over here, so that never worked out.
So
I
I
wanted to be a football
go,
referee, though.
did you really?
I did.
Well,
I
I
really
guess
did.
you were ahead of your time, but they have them
They
out there
got them now.
now.
I know they got them
They
now.
have them there. Yes, indeed. So I think as far as the recreation, I hope we can get back to where it was then. I guess not everything comes back, but it was just so much. The kids need to be out more. I think it's refreshing. But I'll switch to this. How important is it to you? And I can almost predict the answer, but to have one thing named after two women, the first time ever, rec center named after two women that were dedicated to our children, our future, and probably you can look around and see a lot of those kids that came through that rec center, what they're doing today and how they manifest themselves into great careers. So how important, especially with your mother being a part of it, how important you think it's going to be? I know it's important to you, but to the city of Portsmouth and the surrounding Hampton Roads to have this recreation center named after two African American women, going forward.
And I'm gonna be all honest. It's nice to have a name on something, but it has to have some oomph after it. So, right now in the center, it's a daycare. I mean, it's a Head Start, and I'm looking at all the things that's happening with our the administration and trying to cut those programs. Never want to cut it, but
Mhm.
I'm quite sure we could find places to put a daycare, not blowing it off. But you talking about a recreation center that's centrally located, that was the home to 4 different communities, Truxton, Douglas Park, Arcadia Heights, Maplewood Park, and the people from Jeffrey Wilson coming across the
Come across
interstate.
the catwalk.
Across the catwalk, come across the
Yeah.
catwalk. And now when I talk about it, or when we hear about it, they say they can go to the sports complex. Well, I'm not knocking the sports complex, but look how far those kids would have to walk. They would have to go across a major street, which is that Frederick Boulevard, to go across past Lincoln Park, to cross over Portsmouth Boulevard, and a lot of the activities are more adult driven.
Right.
I'm adult driven, as opposed to at a recreation center, I can put out a checkerboard or a Karen pool table and say, go at it, learn how to compete, or put out some old maid cards, or put out something, just to keep kids active. I can't remember how long, but I know there was a mini night. We were leaving out the center at 8:00 at night, or something like that, mama or whatever. I'm not sure what the timing was, but just to give kids some activity. I have kids now in my school that are in that area, and I say, what do you do when you get home? Nothing. Do you go outside? Nothing. Do you go? No, nothing. And I give them a physical activity log for them to do, and I can't even get them to do it because they don't even try to approach it, which I could probably fill up that physical activity log back and front by the time the day 5 came and I had to turn it in, but they don't. And that's just sad. They don't go kickball.
Yeah.
I don't want to play kickball.
Just running and sweating.
Yeah, running and sweating. And as your mom would say, you smell like outdoors.
Yeah. And the grass stains and all that. But, and I feel you as far as saying it has to be more than just a name. It has to be more like a movement to get maybe change that center back to what it was originally established for. To have a place where the kids in the community could safely walk to and, and enjoy themselves and be involved in a lot of activities.
It was a
And
safe space.
Safe space, right. Yeah, and your parents, you said, I'm going to the center. Your parents felt comfortable that once you got there, you were going to be in good hands. And it probably was sometimes where Miss Hendricks and your mother carried some of those kids home.
Carry them home. That was always the case. We did community service before we even knew. We did the March of Dimes. The March of Dimes, we would collect money, and Mama and Miss Kendricks were strategic. They would put us at the liquor store, or they would put us at Giant Open Air Market on payday, or at all the banks. And we would go out with our little container that says, help us with the March of Dimes. And if you gave a substantial donation, we gave you these salt and shell peanuts. We were known for that. And she would put us out there and pick us up, and we would count that money. That's how I learned how that 50 dimes in a row. She taught us how to count money, but we donated that money. Now, John Campbell was in charge of recreation. I looked up his obituary to see if any of his kids was around, because I went to school with his son, and it had in there that was one of his initiatives to do the March of Dimes. So I never knew why we did that and where it came from, but that was I know we collected a lot of money, for the March of Dimes, and that went straight to that foundation.
Yeah, kids helping kids. Yeah. So give the date and the time for this Friday coming up, and do
Saturday.
You have to sign up?
No.
I mean Saturday. I'm sorry, Saturday. Do you have to sign up for it?
No, not really. I just say come. We're gonna make room. We're gonna be on if it. I went into the center today, and we're not gonna have use of the whole center. However, we're gonna set up some things so that people can speak. We're gonna have a memorial for those recreators that have passed before us. Celia Ward, who used to live across the street, who mom used to call her Dionne Ward, is traveling because she's started professionally singing, and she's going to come back and sing. Mary West, who was one of my mom's pageant persons, she went to Norcom. She's going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
sing.
I know her well. Yeah.
Okay, and then my mom was very active in my church, which is over in Hampton, and they said they're gonna bring some vans of the senior citizens, which were the Dream Makers, and there is a troupe that's coming called the Young Achievers, and these are a boy and girl, young kids, and they're gonna perform a couple of poems and stuff in honor of what the kind of thing that Mama and Miss Hendricks did. So.
Yeah, so it should be a grand affair and
Yeah.
nice. And like we said, hopefully it's the beginning of recognition. Of course, we always want to recognize those people you mentioned, those early pioneers, Mr. Norman, Mr. Freeman, and all those people. We should never forget the contributions they made to the young kids and all the many young kids that are grown now. And that they probably saved a lot of young kids' lives, from going the wrong way, guiding them into the right direction. So we need to remember them. But I'm glad the name is going there, and it's going to be a big thing. And hopefully it starts something we can turn that back into what it was intended for. I say that again. And just like you got support to change the name, maybe we can get support to change it back to its original established purpose.
And can I say one thing? If you do
Sure.
miss coming out, there's an exhibition at the Portsmouth Library that's going to be there from February the 1 all the way through the end of the month. It's called Recreation Black and White, and
Okay.
it's a historical pictorial journey through the lens of my mom, Florence Kendall. She took lots of pictures. She kept Revco and Harris camera. She kept them in business. But anyway, it's already up. And I think this Saturday in the afternoon, they're going to have some sort of expo there celebrating African American history, where you can see that. You can do the face painting. I think there's drumming and all that. And that's going to be in the latter afternoon. So it should be a very good weekend. But if you don't, please come out. Like I said, it's called Recreation Black and White. A little play on words, but a lot of the pictures are in black and white. But just to understand that where recreation has come from, and where
Yeah,
we
go
might.
check it out. You might see yourself in some of those photos.
Yeah. I'm serious. You ought to see. I mean, this is crazy. These are some of Bobbing for Apples. These are the Reeves family. This is Kim Ellis up here. It's funny. It's Mama. I haven't even gone through the tub of pictures. I have not gone through the tub. So that's a project. That's one of those rainy days, snowy days. I'm going to sit down and do it.
Yeah, I like to see that. And so you mentioned Bob. Can you imagine we used to actually do that?
Bob and Apple.
A
How?
bunch of people just sticking up, well, but that was the thing then. Couldn't
She
imagine that now, but that
Yeah,
was the
she
thing back
exposed
then.
us to everything, square dancing, all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
And I look back on it now, like, man, that was social dance during that time, So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so
All right, Jack, and thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming on the Slim Nation 101's podcast, and hope to have you back again, because I know we want to talk about the manor some more. We want to talk about some of the other wonderful things that you do. And we appreciate you coming on. And if you have any last words, say them now.
I just thank you guys. Mom and them were very interested in recreating. If you break down recreation, it's talking about recreating. We're talking
Mhm.
about recreating everyone, mind, body, and spirit.
Well, thanks a lot, and I appreciate that. And thanks everybody for watching. And remember to like, if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, and send in your comments. If you have any comments or memories that you might have had at the Recreation Center in Douglas Park, or any of the recreation centers throughout the city of Portsmouth as you were growing up. I know it was a significant part of your life. And just share those memories with us. And if you can, make it out Saturday at 11 o'clock at the Hendricks Kendall Center, Recreation Center.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. We'll see you next time.
Thank y'all.
Oh, is that a love sign, or is that a?
Love. It's a heart.
Oh,
Look,
okay.
it's the new people. That's what the young people do. See the heart.
I I, I didn't know if it was a diamond or not.
No, that's that way.
Okay.
Not quick love.
I was just giving you the opportunity.
My sorrows
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I hear you. Take care. See you next time.
It's time for us to sit down at the table and turn this chaos into something stable. For love, one-on-one. We will not accept defeat, not on our land, not in our streets. Getting it done, reaching out to save the youth, letting them know